Welcome to Stage 13, Unpack of the Tour de France. My name is Alex Clements. I'm here with Campbell Flakemore. Welcome, Campbell. Back for the 13th day in a row.
Yeah, let's go.
On the trot. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, or Twitter through Periscope. We're live on all platforms. If you do want to share it, it is much appreciated. It's also really appreciated if you want to get around the comment section. It's good for the flow. It's good for the experience, Campbell.
Give us anything.
Yeah, just give us something. Stage 13, we got a rocket of a stage. We got 2-for-1 deal. We got the GC battle happening behind, but also a race within a race for the stage honours. It was it obviously reeled you in.
Yeah, I ended up watching it all, hence me being quite pinned this afternoon. I didn't see the breakaway go. To be fair, I was watching the football. I was watching a bit of a top of the table clash, so I didn't see the breakaway go. But when I tuned in, there was a big group up the road with a lot of strong guys, and that was one of the scenarios that we talked about. And what I think it got out to over 10 minutes. So that was always going to be a day for the breakaway. And the group was too big and too strong for any team to control in terms of the GC teams to try and go for the stage win. So, like you said, off the top, we got a bit of a 2 for the price of 1 in terms of races on the day.
You touch on the breakaway first?
Yeah. Yep.
Schachmann was the first to really throw it down. B2B breakaways too. Him and Soler went back to back. They were in the move yesterday. So you'd think they'd be a little bit fatigued in the legs, a little bit tired from their efforts trying to hunt down Hershey yesterday in the move. But Schachmann went on the attack and he was looking good. He had about a 1 minute lead over the group. Before that, they had EF rider Niels Powless was off the front.
And he's been active. He's been very active in breakaways.
So we kind of had Bora and EF in like ideal team posies. They had good numbers. They were sending riders up the road. They had that dynamic of throw one up the road and sit on the breakaway while they reeled them back. Powless was brought back. Schachmann went on the hunt and established a genuine gap. And it was Martinez that was doing the work to bring him back.
We learned something about Powless last night. He's honest. He's an honest man. He was pulling turns until he just couldn't. And one of the number one rules in cycling is don't get dropped from the breakaway. Lucky for him, Martinez was just so strong, and it didn't matter. Obviously, Martinez got the free ride there for several kilometers, as did Kamna. And it was, like you said at the start, it was those two teams that were in the numerical advantage, and in the end, it was those two teams that lit up the last 20 Ks of the race. But Martinez, he was absolutely incredible, wasn't he? He didn't care that Kamna was sitting on the wheel, chasing down Schachmann, and obviously with the steep climb, it didn't really matter. You could be on the front and the rider in the back's not getting heaps of advantage, but there was a little bit of a downhill before that last climb. But Martinez, the winner of the Dauphiné, he was just so strong. He just rode that last 20K flat out and then just pumped Kamna in the sprint.
Yeah. He was in the fortuitous position that there was not a whole lot of flat land. If any flat land, it was either up or down. So there wasn't any it was a huge advantage except for downhill for Kamna. But yeah, he was strong. Muscled his way up that final climb, hunted down Schachmann, and Leonard had a couple of goes, but
You could sort of just tell that he just knew he wasn't strong enough.
They
and
weren't confident.
And there was no scenario where Bora could have used their numbers differently. It wasn't one of those situations where they cocked it up. It's like, oh, you boys had 2 guys there and you didn't win. It was never like that. It was just Martinez was so strong, and the profile didn't really allow for sort of a 1-2 punch and try and work him over, because that last climb was just so steep.
A nice tick for EF2 for their Tour de France.
Yeah.
Pick up a stage win. That's nice. That's handy to have.
I tipped Martinez earlier in the piece for, I think, the stage that Lutsenko won. I think I might have tipped Martinez. So,
Paulus was also... He's semi-claiming that.
No, not at all. I'm more just agreeing with your point that it's good for them. They've been active. They've still got Rigo on the GC. So, yeah, a big tick for them. And Bora are left wanting after investing a lot again into a stage. Yeah, so they're going to be hunting again, no doubt, for the next couple of days, and it probably starts with tonight, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a couple of minutes.
The other thing to note, Dan Martin was in that breakaway, the first kind of activity we've seen from him this tour, besides getting hooped on his climbs. He is an awfully ugly bike rider, but
not nice to watch.
Good to see him back in the picture. I saw he put out a tweet before saying that it was the first time since a injury that he's been able to really throw it down. So
yeah, it's always good. Always good to see.
Then we saw the GC battle. The GC battle was happening behind. Ineos took it up early.
Big time. Yeah.
Big style. Like, Luke Rowe was doing a heap of work into the final, chewing up all their men. For the only reason that they would have done that was that Bernal was on a good one.
Yeah, and in the end, he wasn't.
He wasn't at all.
He wasn't at all. But it's kind of nice to see Ineos take it on, take the bull by the horns. Luke Rowe was moving. It was good to see him back up in the front, getting involved in the front of the race. But yeah, I mean, there must have been some sort of word from Bernal, or that was the plan at the start of the day. And I don't know, does he not have the confidence to change the plans and say, listen, boys, I'm not feeling so good anymore. Let's not do that. But he's the former winner of the Tour de France. You think he would have the confidence to tell the team that to change plans. But interesting when you see a team throw it down like that with so much confidence, and the leader, didn't attack, but he also didn't even stay with the front guys. So it was a bit of an interesting one.
Yeah.
Side note on Bernal, his new salad is aggressive, and I like it.
You like the work?
I don't mind it. Yeah. You can't really see under the helmet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. But I don't mind the aggressive salad.
I also don't mind that the former Tour de France, or last year's Tour de France winner, is getting home job haircuts.
Yeah. I mean, Geraint Thomas, he always does a home job haircut before the tour. Yeah. He always puts that tweet up the week before the tour. But
no nonsense. No fancy barbers for Egan Bernal.
No, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. We saw another Slovenian showdown. I think they've locked in that they are the 2 best climbers in this race on an awfully, awfully difficult final climb. I think we actually talked about this off air for some reason after doing our stage preview yesterday. But that final ascent was tricky,
wasn't it?
And relentless.
That last K just went forever.
It was so hard. Even Roglic was out of the seat.
Just on Roglic, he was just in robot mode. That last K, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, his face is just like stone cold killer. Legs are just like boom, 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 pistons. Like, he's just in this zone. He's just in this Zen zone where he's just on it. It's incredible.
You can't think of a time where you've seen him flustered.
Not yet. Although there's still there's so much cycling to go, if you will,
Mm.
in this tour. But so far, he has not looked like he's got any weakness at the moment.
Meanwhile,
And
Egan,
his team was super.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that was super, but they also got a big helping hand. The fact that Ineos was doing all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. While the two Slovenians were on the hunt, Egan Bernal was squirming up that final climb, hanging on for dear life.
Richie Port wasn't. Richie
Richie
Port was.
Port, though. Oh yeah,
He was good. He was probably. What did he end up in? Because they didn't actually show the guys come across the finish. But yeah, he did come in. He came in ahead of Landa and Lopez, who were kind of 10 meters behind him that whole climb. So he held him off. But Landa came through on the same time. But that's sort of a good climb for Richie. Steep, short, and yeah, it was really good to see, wasn't it?
well, he was the third best climber. He was the best of the rest in terms of his performance. He was class. He was always there. He managed the running well. It was good.
Yeah,
that's a Richie Port with GC ambitions.
big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yates, he was quite good as well. He's not fully throwing away the GC. He's now at a minute 42. Awkward position to be in.
It's a bit of a nowhere position, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of nothing. I mean, if he came in saying yes, we want to do GC, it's probably not a bad place to be. But the whole tour, before the tour, Mitchell and Scott were coming here for stages, and their best option, probably Yates, is now in a position where he's not going to get a whole lot of slack from Jumbo Visma and the other top teams. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the last week of this Tour de France.
We saw. Did you see Richard Carapaz make an appearance?
Yes. Yep.
Do a little bit of a tap off the front, and then Sepp Kuss just rides up next to him and just has a
and says, "Not so fast."
Yeah, what are you doing, mate? And he just sit back down, and Sepp Kuss is talking, taking biddens. Meanwhile, Carapaz is over to the left of the road, just throwing it down at his absolute maximum. I thought that moment summed up this year's tour so far. Just Jumbo, just dominant, so class.
Yeah, so far. But again, there's so much to go. There's so much cycling to go. So, I know Roglic he's looking the strongest, but let's just all cool down just a little bit.
you putting an asterisk next to Roglic's form, or just where he's placed?
Well, yes, he's won a Grand Tour in the past, won the Vuelta last year, but there's been a couple of times where just the last week it's kind of come unstuck a little bit. But this year does seem to be a little bit different, especially that last climb last night. He was so good. Oofed.
Well, not just for Roglic, like unstuck for many riders in the last week, in the last few days. And if you only have to sift through the last week and a bit, and it's tough.
Yeah. Big TT on the penultimate day too.
Yeah, not a good day for France.
Which won't concern him too much.
No, you think he'd back himself in there to hold off the GC gents. Not a good day for France, Campbell.
No,
not at all.
Not at all. They had Alaphilippe in the break, the Great White Hope. Couldn't get it done, and then the two GC boys fell off the face of the earth.
Bardet crashed, notably. Also dug up a little bit of conversation around the concussion.
Yeah, with good reason. The conversation's been brought to light, but again, cycling's in this unique position where you can't really, AFL, cop a concussion, head to the bench for 10 minutes, go through the protocol. Cycling, you can't really have a 10-minute window to check yourself. The race is 8K up the road. You're not getting back on. So, yeah, it's a really tricky one to try and come up with some sort of protocol because, Obviously, nothing went wrong for Barday or anyone else for the rest of the stage, but there was some effects to come on 30, 40 minutes after. It could have been carnage for the peloton, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think there definitely needs to be something in place. I think it's very cycling that the mentality is and the process is you just get back up on your bike and we'll deal with it at the finish line.
But like I touched on before, there's no bench to go to.
There's no bench. It's a timed sport. So like you said, if the doc goes, hey, we need to go through this process, you can't be like, oh, doc's ticked me off, but the bunch is 10 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
And for someone on the general, it's tour over. But you take tour over versus the possible outcome
of course.
So, yeah, I think there's got to be some way of maybe not having the full process that the luxury that you have in other team sports, where you can put riders to the bench, where you can put players to the side for a little bit, and it doesn't affect the outcome too much. But there's got to be something that's a bit tighter than. Well, I don't even know if there's anything in progress at the moment. It's just kind of get back on your bike, sort it out later.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. It's not really for us to come up with a solution at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, just on the Frenchman. Well, Bardet finished. There's talk that he won't be starting today, but Guillaume Martin, he's still 12th on the GC at 3 minutes 14. So he actually got unstuck on that second last climb.
Yeah, he didn't get to the last one.
And he went over the top with Pello Bilbao, and then the next clip you see, Guillaume Martin is 20 seconds off the back of the bunch, and Bilbao is pulling on the front. It was like Bilbao just got like teleported to the front of the bunch somehow, and Martin was in quicksand. It was yeah. I'd like to see how that happened.
Yeah. Also, not a direct comparison, but Yates was getting a little bit distance on that second last climb as well. Yes, he had an advantage over Martin, but he obviously featured quite well in the final.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a good day for his general hopes. I've got a question on the YouTube. Did you see that? Why is Caleb being the first sprinter to get dropped each stage? He still has to go very deep to make the time cut. The bigger and heavier riders are ripping the front while he's getting dropped. He talked about his climbing condition in the podcast we did on the first rest day. He said it wasn't great.
Nah, he said it wasn't great, and he says he likes to keep his sprint as strong as possible. So, if you stop working on your sprint and you start working on your climbing a little bit, your weapon's going to be weakened a little bit. So he chooses to continue working on his strength, and so far it's been okay. He's had teammates around him, and has found his group. But there's always the potential if you are the first one to go, you don't quite make the gruppetto. There's every chance you can get time cut. But so far, so good. And if it works for him, keep doing it.
He has got a tough 7 days ahead of him, though, before he gets to light it up on the Champs-Elysees.
There's a long way to go to Paris, especially for those sprinters. We're talking about the GC boys. There's still a lot to go.
Yeah.
Those sprinters have got a pretty ordinary week coming up.
It was interesting when he was talking about the days where it's like, all right, this is a mountainous stage. I'm just locking in here. Like, it's literally a time trial to the end, see what I can make of it. Make the gruppetto, crest the climbs, work out your time cut, make it in a comfortable distance, versus the days where he was referencing the crosswind day, where it was just so hard and unexpected and he was getting hooped. He's like, they're the days that you suffer. Like, they're disgustingly hard because mentally you're not ready to take that kind of challenge on. You're expected to be there later on the piece. But yeah, I think he shared some good insight in that podcast if you do want to check it out.
Just quickly on the GC after 13 stages, the top 6 are from only 2 nations,
Yeah. Yeah.
Slovenia and Colombia.
Rigo in 4th.
Rigo
did.
in 4th. He incredible. We haven't talked about this guy
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Also,
Just sniffing around.
yeah. Also,
Old
Pogacar's
legs.
only 44 seconds down after losing a minute and a half on the crosswind day.
Yeah. I feel like he, on that day, the Peters one, when he got a little bit of time back on the Peresword, I feel like Roglic might have let him go just a little bit. We're not really going to know unless we talk to Roglic, but I feel like he might have got a little bit. I feel like he might have got a little bit of slack there, but yeah, you're right. That minute 25 in the crosswinds on stage
Such
7.
a difference. Imagine where Richie Porter be.
Yeah.
You don't like to dwell on these things.
We always talk about it, but crosswinds, flat stages, it's all part of the Tour de France. You have to be an all-rounder to win this race. And, you know, if he didn't lose this time on that flat stage, well, he did, and here we are. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
From last night? I don't think so.
Berkan Mollema's out of the bike race.
He is out of the bike race.
A little bit disappointing for Richie Porte and Trek, I would imagine.
I think so.
Or not. Clear leadership now.
I think Richie would rather have Boca in the race than not.
Also, how good's Mads Pedersen been?
Richie seems to trust him a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Whenever you see Richie in the bunch, Pedersen is first wheel in front of him. So obviously got a lot of trust, and yeah, you would. He's a big man. He's the world champion, and yeah, Port he is leaving Trek. I'm not sure where he's going.
Take a punt. What's his shortest odds? The bookie. I don't know if he wants to go anywhere now after his tour performance so far.
I honestly don't have any idea. I'm thinking Mitchelton. Is there a bit of a lure there to come back, and not that he's ever been there, but to come to an Australian team and
back to the homeland?
Yeah. I honestly have no idea.
Port to Ineos, says Adam Sims.
It was either Mitchelton or Ineos. I think I talked about this earlier in the year. Vandy with Ineos.
Ineos.
Yep.
No Israel Cycling Academy. That's my punt. That's where I'm pushing him.
Back
to the good old days. Yeah.
Him and
Froome. Just that Israeli pot of cash just on the table. Richie Porte, come back here, win the Tour de France with Froome. Geez, Vandy's gone official sources.
Yeah.
SBS commentary. Good point.
Adam, how much? He's not. I don't think he's going anywhere to be the man. Like he's going to go somewhere to be a good domestique. No, what is he? He's 35.
Yeah,
he's openly talked about this is going to be his last assault on the general for the Tour de France. So, and I think when he was with Team Sky as that kind of the last guy for Froome, he was absolutely incredible. I think he probably performed a little bit better when he didn't have that pressure of being a leader.
Yeah, and I was going to touch on that too. I think that's probably why he's performing so well now.
Because no one's really been talking about him.
Last 3 or 4 years, it's especially here, it's been all about Richie Porte.
Yeah,
everything's been on Richie Porte. It's that famous topic of who's going to win the Tour de France next. Richie Porte, and we know that he doesn't thrive in that kind of environment. This year, he's hardly been talked about.
No,
look what he's doing.
And it just feels like he's doing better than what his GC position suggests. He's at 2 minutes. Yes, a lot of that was in the crosswinds, like we talked about before. But yeah, I feel like he's just going to keep building and building through this tour, and that time trial on the penultimate day suits him a lot better than those boys in front of him, like Bernal, Lopez, Yates, Lander. So if he can keep chipping away like he has, who knows? Maybe a podium in Paris is a possibility.
Mm. We know what to talk about to get the comment section flowing. Transfer news. Hot it up. But yeah, I think it's exciting for Richie Port. And what a way to kind of finish his final expedition as the main guy, snag himself a podium. That's unreal.
Yeah.
And deserved. But there is so much to manage still. So much to manage.
Starting with tonight.
And the next after that. And the next after that. And the next after that. Tonight we've got ourselves a Cat 4, Cat 2, Cat 3.
Long drag
that's uncategorized. And then a couple of Cat 4s towards the finish, which are awfully short. But very punchy. Launch pads, you may say.
Yes, if you will.
What
are you thinking?
I think it's a day for the breakaway. I think it's not. There's no real GC danger.
No, definitely not.
Jumbo will ride 10 minutes. It's a day for the breakaway. Who's going to make the breakaway?
I think the sprint at 37k is also interesting. Is Bora keen to keep it together for that?
Yeah, they are. But is Sagan going to win?
I'm sure he'll die trying. But yeah, I mean, even the finish is good for Sagan as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of got that same feel to a couple of days ago where Bora and CCC might want to collab, because the chances for those two are running out quickly. I'm just trying to think who the other, like Wout van Aert. I don't think Jumbo are too keen on keeping it together all the way, just for him to have a sprint, even though he'd probably win. But does Sam Bennett and Caleb still come into the equation here? I mean, if you look at the two last climbs, 1.3 at 5.4% and 1.4 at 4.5.
Sam Bennett's been climbing well.
They're not that tricky. And the final K there's nothing to worry about in terms of elevation. So I'm still thinking it could be a day for the sprinters.
Does Caleb Ewan get put in that pool?
Yeah, he does. But the Cat 2 is the problem. 12k at 5.3%. If a strong group can get away on that, stretch out a little bit of an advantage, then it's a long day of pulling from there to the finish. So yeah, I still think.
Can you see Quickstep just managing it all day?
I can.
Just riding the rivet for Sam Bennett to the top of the Cat 2, breakaway at 5 minutes, and doing the job on the way home, clipping the ticket at that first sprint, and then taking the stage win, green jersey.
I can still see it happening. Yeah.
I'm going to go with GVA for the win. Save CCC's hopes. Sam Bennett's not going. That's pending Sam Bennett not being there.
GVA from the break or from the sprint?
From the sprint.
From the field sprint?
Yeah, we're talking field sprint, really reduced field sprint.
How many are we talking? What are we talking reduced?
We're talking 50 guys.
You're talking 50?
Ryan says Caleb seems like he's climbing on a mountain bike, so no chance.
Clip.
But yeah. What are you thinking? GVA from anywhere, says Vandy. True.
Yeah.
Maybe-
like GVA could find himself in that breakaway that goes away on the Cat 2.
Maybe GVA's thinking, you know what? These nufty teammates I have, like it's too much
I
risk.
can't trust them as far as I can throw them.
It's too much risk to put it on the line. Like I'm putting myself in the move. I'm taking this race on and I'm putting myself in control.
Yeah. I tend to agree actually with Vandy. GVA from anywhere, whether he goes in that breakaway or whether he just leaves it to the reduced field sprint.
Adam
then
does
if you-
make a good point. Have you seen that comment that's come in?
If you're talking GVA, you got to be talking Sagan.
Yeah, but has Sagan been going that good? Climbing wise?
Yes, he was pretty decent the day that he cleaned up best of the rest. The day that Hershey won.
Hmm.
And yeah, good point. I mean, the sprinters don't want to go too deep, but I mean, really, it's really just that Cat 2 that's going to pose any real danger. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll find out tonight. But
I think on the sprinters going too deep too, there's an element of it's almost easier if you are racing. You're in the mixer. You're not just going all right because they've got so many days ahead where it's like I'm just locking into the group header. Like get it formed, get to work, get me to the finish line, tick the box. Next day.
Yep.
Bentley says Pedersen, not bad.
Yep. Don't mind that.
Was it Christoph last night that was hanging on for dear life?
Where and when?
Or the day before? There was I remember for some reason footage of just Christoph just hanging on to the group when a lot of the sprinters were gone.
Can't remember. Don't tell me you're saying Christoph tonight.
No, I'm not saying Christoph. I'm just floating it. Just floating the idea. I'm sticking with GVA.
Okay, I think GVA is going to be he's going to be hunting tonight. He's going to be hunting big time.
Could that be his undoing though?
Possibly.
Too excited.
We know that he never misses a turn in a breakaway as well.
Also, I don't mind Thomas's shout here. Trenton to spoil the GVA party.
You can guarantee that if GVA is sprinting, Trent's Impey as well. I don't see them.
This is not a day for the punters. This is not a day for the punters.
Well, it's not a day for the punters. If you were having a punt, if you were looking to have a punt, the bookies have Van Aert at 5, Sagan at 6, Trenton at 11,
$5.
Alaphilippe at 13, Hershey 13, GVA 14,
That's
Anderson
the other one.
14. Then it comes into these guys, the Impies at 15, Stuyven at 17, Bossenhagen 23. So if you were a betting man, it's not a day to be having a punt.
We haven't.
Cycling just isn't a sport to be punting on.
We haven't even mentioned Hershey. Where does he fit? You think back to that day where Alaphilippe won.
Yeah, it doesn't seem hard enough for Hershey.
Oh, but if you've got two Cat 4s to launch off, Team Sunweb awfully drilled at the moment, awfully fluid in the way they execute any plan they seem to have.
I mean, we could literally talk for 35 minutes about what could happen tonight. I'm going to go Sagan. You're going to go GVA, and there's a lot of good suggestions as well that I'm sure out of us too and the comments we might get it.
Yeah, or probably not. I think that's it. Let's got any last questions. Really appreciated the comments. The comments have been unreal today.
Yeah, always good. think that's
I
it
think
from
that's
me.
it. Yep, that's all from me.
Cool. We'll find
Awesome.
out.
See you tomorrow, 5 p.m.
Yep.
for now.
Roger that. Or was there another question?
Oh, we might have one more question. We might have to hang in here a little bit longer. We're talking about this one being a short one. Is Yates going for a good GC? We kind of touched on that a little bit. He's in limbo at the moment. You either needs to lock in now for a GC or lose 25 minutes on this last Cat 4.
When's the Grand Colombier? That's stage 15.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So, and then it's a rest day after that, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, tomorrow night is where we'll find out who wants to play GC. Gates might just throw it in there.
Yeah.
And then there's some chances after that to go for a stage win. I'm talking day after or stage after stage 16 is a really nice day for the breakaway. So I think we'll find out after the Colombier what Mitchelton are doing. Especially with his brother winning in Torino last night.
Yeah. His brother was very good in Torino last night.
Cool. All right. See you tomorrow, 5:00.
We got one more question. It's not
it.
related to the tour. Thoughts on the Aussie road scene? Will Roadnats ECC go ahead? Will NRS have the financial backing for the future? Can CA afford to host races? Warning, ECT. A lot in that question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
No, but let's just simplify that question. Will the Australian Cycling Summer go ahead?
Well, Herald Sun's already been canned.
Yeah.
The races are all held in Victoria, which is an absolute dog show at the moment. Besides, obviously,
it's getting better.
The World Tour race in South Australia, but I think with this whole pandemic, no one knows anything about the future. So I'd love to see it go ahead, but I can see it not. I can see the Nationals not going ahead.
Or yeah, like this point Adam just made, it could be an NRS race. I think NRS Summer. Australia finally gets on top. If Victoria gets on top of COVID, then we're kind of set here. But letting internationals in, the internationals having to do 2 weeks quarantine. France 9,000 cases last night. Spain back in lockdown. Like
mess.
It's messy, and it's gone from. It's March. This will all be fixed by summer. To summer's in a couple of months' time. You can't
March. This will all be fixed by June.
Yeah, and you can't just turn on the Tour Down Under. You can't just turn. Or if, for example, you go, all right, we're going for Cadell's race. Cadell's race is going to happen. It's pretty expensive if it doesn't. Anyway, we've got the tour on, so it's all good. It's all good for now. Put all your worries behind you. Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. Much appreciated. And we'll chat tomorrow. Bye.
See you tomorrow.